My name is Brian Solis, and I'm the author of a new book called The End of Business as Usual. The book is about the idea of a new type of consumer that is emerging. Over the years, we've had experience with traditional consumers, those individuals who find and share information through traditional media, for example. We have digital consumers, those who live in email, those who are comfortable with websites and who begin their search with Google. And now we have a new class, which I refer to as the connected customer, the connected consumer within the book. And that is because they are quite literally connected. In many ways, I say in the book that we are the people we are trying to reach. I am a connected customer, and I have learned through experience. For example, I was at dinner in Portugal with several of the Digerati, and every single one of them had their smartphones, as could be expected in today's society. I did not, however, because I did not have my data plan in Portugal at that time, so I was left to look around and expect conversation, only to see the tops of everyone's heads as they were looking down, typing into their phones. And I realized at that moment that every one of those individuals was engaged in meaningful conversation. And I could have thought it rude to maybe ignore their guest, but I realized that's just the way of life, not just there, but everywhere. And as much as I would want to argue with it or debate or rally against it, I decided to channel it, to use it as an opportunity to engage with the people that they were engaging with, to bring everybody together in a conversation that had value to the people in the room and also to the extended audiences. And it was through these real life experiences that I realized that I can't change that as an individual, but I can use it so that I can get value and they can get value through it. And that was a huge inspiration for me. Content is king, or so they say. And for all intents and purposes, content is incredibly important to any engagement strategy. However, I'd like you to rethink what the purpose of content is, especially to that of the connected customer. Content is developed to inform someone. The key is, what is it informing, and what is the experience of that content consumer? The connected consumer is often accused of being distracted because of all of these networks, all of these technologies at their fingertips. I would like you to think about it this way. They're not distracted, they are focused. They are focused on what's important to them, and in that moment, you have an opportunity to provide what could be interesting to them. So whereas content was king, context is now king. And by context, I mean what is relevant. To achieve relevance requires what sociologists or anthropologists might refer to as going native. What this is understanding what people need, where they're going for that information, what could help them make better decisions, and becoming the resource. Businesses face what I call digital Darwinism. Digital Darwinism is when technology and society evolve faster than your ability to adapt. Charles Darwin once said that it isn't the strongest who will survive. It is those who are most able or willing to adapt. And so the transformation I see within business isn't just to use this new technology as a new way to engage with customers or try to influence customer decisions, but to adapt to opportunities where they can lead those decisions to be the epicenter of their customer along the evolutionary process. To become customer-centric, whether that is to learn or to lead, you have to have a culture of customer centricity. And what that comes down to is a discussion around culture. Every business, whether intentional or not, has a culture. This is a discussion about rethinking the culture and creating a culture of opportunity, a culture of transformation and adaptation, and looking at how to rally employees together, because that's where it's got to begin, in order to then take that culture outward. Everything starts by creating a change task force, finding individuals within key departments who can help lead transformation. But first, they have to assess the opportunity, document it, present it to their stakeholders. You have to get an executive sponsor who's willing to take this on, but it has to be around small incremental steps that show that you are in the right direction, that you are making the right observations, and as a result, taking the right next steps to bring about change within the organization. There are two paths you can take from this point forward. One is you could be a champion for the technology. You could be a champion for the engagement and the relationship. And you can use new media tools like Facebook and Twitter, blogs and YouTube to enhance how, for example, marketing communicates with those people who are important. The second path that you could take is that of a change agent, and that is to recognize all of the important things on the other path, but to have the opportunity or the ability to translate that activity, that behavior, those observations into decision-making points, into insights, into actionable insights, into dollars and cents. Your customers do not see departments. They don't see silos. They just see your company. When you start to experiment with new media to try to reach that connected customer, you expose the weaknesses of the organization. You expose the silos. And what businesses need to think through is what that customer experience looks like. So when you look at your change agent team or your change management team, you should also look at training. You should also look at documenting what is that experience and then training against it. Not just how to use all of these new tools, but how to use them to bring about that experience, how to reinvest in that brand, how to tell the vision and mission, how to bring it to life in everything that they're doing. Because at the end of the day, these are all communities. You're connecting with people because there's the incentive, the need, the value to do so. So think about the experience and also think about the strategy of how you're going to bring that experience to life through each one of your departments to tell that one story, and also how you're going to get your employees to be part of it. There are many things that you need to do moving forward. Number one is please read the book. But number two, I want you to take a moment, step away from Twitter, step away from Facebook, maybe even step away from the whole computer or your iPad or your phone, and think about this for a second. Take a breath. Think about what this means, because this is years of transformation. And it's years of transformation in a good way, right? Darwinism, survival of the fittest, sure. But what about survival of the fitting? You earned relevance because you took the time to think about what mattered. You earned relevance because you took the time to see what it was that customers needed. You took the time to figure out how to deliver a better experience, to define that experience, and then to bring it to life through service, through content, through engagement strategies and social networks. Your next step is to think about that experience. What is it that you want to lead? What is your mission? What is your vision for this connected customer? Define that. Define it because it's informed and it's inspired. Your next step is to get inspired. I want you to look at your customer experience as it exists today. What do they find and what they don't find? Who do they rely upon and why? What communities are they engaged in and why? The 4 pillars of customer centricity are customer service, customer experience, empowerment, and becoming the resource. I want you to think about each of those 4 as they exist today. What is that customer experience? Chances are that they're not empowered, because chances are that your organization, employees, your coworkers, aren't empowered. Think about what that service process is like today. And think about how it is that your company is viewed as a resource to customers. And by that I mean, how are you solving their problems? Because it can't just be on a sales call. It can't be from a FAQ tab on your website. It can't be something that just says email us here. Customer centricity requires that you get closer to your customers, and the connected customer requires that you come to them. So how are those 4 pillars going to bring you closer to bridging that gap? Don't look at what your peers are doing or your competitors. Look at what they're not doing. Because you are the change agent. You see what others don't, and you need to do what others can't or won't. Your next step has to be getting insight and translating that into actionable insight. And I know that's going to help.